Hi, this is Elston Torres, and this is And It Goes Like This. Stick around for some really cool conversation.
And it goes like that. Yeah, it goes like this. And it goes like that. Alright, here we go, ready? With Elston Torres, as a matter of fact, it goes like this and it goes like that. Back to the music, back to the groove. Elston is my dad, he is the dude with the shaker. Come on, talk to me. Cause it goes like this. Yeah, it goes like this.
We have Bryant del Toro,
Hi,
singer,
guys.
songwriter, friend, a lot of things.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm actually really excited to be here because I have a lot to talk about.
I know you do.
And
That's why I wanted you on the
exactly,
show.
exactly. No, but one of the things I love is like it's always with you. It's always like a call to arms. Like I need you for this, and I come running. Anytime you call me,
That's right,
I
dude.
come running, man, because you're always doing good things. It's always positive energy. And not to talk down, but this is a lot more elaborate than I expected. And that's not your fault. That's Miami's fault because everything's kind of done a la mitad. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Pero man, with you, it's always
Well, thank you, man. You know what's
quality.
funny?
Even this coffee is amazing. Thank
There
you
you
for the
go.
coffee.
Made it myself. We were just talking that it's been a year since the benefit concert we did for Puerto Rico. Yeah, man.
No, it's been a
Yeah,
year
you know how
already?
Facebook always tells
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's been a year since this, 5 years since this, you know?
So, for those of you out there that don't know what we're talking about, Elston organized a Beatles, it was a benefit concert for Puerto Rico themed to the music
Beatles.
of the Beatles, or by
Right.
the Beatles.
It was
And-
called One Song and a Beatle.
Yeah.
So everybody did one of their own songs and
Yeah.
a Beatles song.
And it was awesome, man. That was
It's a fun
an
night. It was a
incredible
fun
night.
Yeah, for a good cause.
I think we did over half of the catalog.
Yeah, and I know,
Yeah.
do you consider yourself a millennium? You are, right?
Ugh.
I know.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I was talking
Uh-huh.
to Danny before this
Okay.
and Elva,
Uh-huh.
and you are
No,
that
and yes,
generation,
no,
right?
I'm within the bracket of what is a millennial, and I do have millennial ideals.
But you like the Beatles, which is great.
No, I love the Beatles. Okay, first of all, before we get to the millennial thing, I argue with people a lot, right?
Okay.
Because I'm not that I argue with people. I argue with people about this. I think the Beatles are the greatest band to have ever existed. Period.
Thank you very much.
Now, quality-wise, as musicians, come on, man. There's like hundreds upon thousands of better
Of course.
musicians quality-wise. But nobody created such a precipice or like
Body of
a
work.
mark. No,
Right.
it's not even the body of work. Because Dylan has an extensive body of work, and there's unreleased Dylan songs
Right.
that are coming out now. But I don't think Dylan marked
An era.
an era
Mm-hmm.
like the Beatles did. The Beatles were the first to use distortion on the track. They were the first to be presented via satellite. They were the first
Right.
ones to own their own company.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first ones. They were the British invasion. I think Led Zeppelin is a better band,
Right.
but you would never have Led Zeppelin without the Beatles. You know?
You wouldn't have a lot of things without the Beatles.
Yeah,
you
there's
know?
a lot
I mean,
of things that
they were the first.
Yeah.
The first artists to basically wrote their own songs in the pop world. I mean,
Yeah.
you have Buddy Holly before that
Mhm.
and some other artists, but they took it to that next level.
Yeah.
And with the Beatles was that their career was that every album they did was better than the last one.
Of course.
And each one stands for its own. You pick up any Beatle album and it's great.
Yeah.
Milo, the producer,
The
is
executive
making
producer.
sure that we're on track.
He's like, keep talking. No,
Keep talking.
No, the other thing too with the Beatles is that this is so funny. Sorry. The other thing too with the there you go. Hi. The other thing too with the Beatles is no, we're good. They're one of the few bands that the elderly know who they are, millennials know who they are. I worked with kids for a long time. Kindergartners
Right,
knew
you were-
the Beatles
you were a
songs.
teacher for
I
a
was a
while.
teacher for a long time, and then I worked in Parks and Recreation. So I worked with children from the age of 5 all the way until about 18.
How was
So-
your transition into being a full-time, because you're a full-time musician now.
Right.
Singer-songwriter.
So yeah, I guess if we're gonna get into it, I stayed in the job for a long time because of the kids.
Right.
And it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Oh, the kids probably, gave you a headache," and the kids were the easiest part of my job.
Parents are the problem.
The parents and the system in itself.
Yeah.
Especially in the state of Florida.
Now,
the
did you actually work
education
in the school system?
Yes,
In
I
the-
did.
in
Yes,
the,
I did. I worked for middle school and high school for
Wow,
a
okay.
time. And it's the system, man. It's broken, and we're focusing too much. I don't want to get political
No,
too soon, but
dude.
I want to brace myself.
That's
but
what
no,
this show's about, talking about anything we want to
yeah,
talk about.
no. The whole thing is that I feel like as a country, right, we're focusing too much on trivial things. when we should be focusing on education, because out of education we get our future leaders, we get lawyers, we get doctors, we get citizens that give back to society,
Right.
integral people in our lives. So we need to plant those seeds and really, cater to them.
Many will
and
argue, and
yeah.
I'm sure you agree with this, that we're creating a society of kids that are soldiers and not leaders.
Yeah.
We don't have.
I'm
we don't
sorry
have
to interrupt.
that-
Standardized testing
Yeah,
is terrible.
That's the
Yeah.
worst thing I think that could happen
I
for
agree.
a kid.
I agree. Yeah.
It's like they're not learning. They're learning only to take a test.
Of course.
To get
Yeah.
more funding for the school.
Now this is where I argue with people because they're like, "You're such a millennial," and it makes me really angry because millennials get a bad rep.
You're in the
right?
late 20s.
Yeah, I just turned 29, so I'm still
okay, wow.
dirty 30 right around the corner. But
You could be my son.
but I am your son.
You are my
Like,
son. Yeah.
But I forgot what we were talking about because now I'm like, Dad owes me so many
Well, you
Christmas
were talking
presents.
about education, and you were talking
Yeah.
about being a millennial.
Yeah, so millennials get a bad rep, right? So
Why do they get a bad rap? Why do you think?
honestly, in my opinion, I think it's because we're changing things. I think it's because we aren't conformist.
Okay.
So, yeah, millennials want everything easier. I do agree with that. We don't want to go out and get food. So now we have Grubhub and now we have Uber Eats. But I think what it is too is that the generations before us, let's be honest. The Gen Xers, which were the ones that came before
Before you
what did they do? Like, for real.
smoke pot.
Okay. Okay, so we got Fish. No, that was actually later. But anyway, we got great music, of course. But
Right.
what did they do? They didn't do anything. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
they didn't.
I mean-
like, I'm talking about the baby boomers.
Significant. Well,
The baby boomers.
but that generation was the one that created all the technology that now you guys are using in a way.
Right,
You know,
the
I mean,
internet
or
and
the beginning
of
of it,
course,
you know what I mean?
Of course, but let's be honest. Apart from the internet, are there any major societal shifts during the Gen Xers? This is an argument I had with my producer recently because he's constantly. Whenever I do something he doesn't like, he's like, "You're such a millennial." I'm like, "Oh, it's not a
talking
bad
about JP
word."
Gasca?
Yeah, I didn't want
Yeah.
to throw. Thanks for throwing him under the bus. I'm sorry, JP.
He's a friend too, so I can talk
Yeah,
about that.
incredible producer.
Great musician, great
musician.
person, yeah.
But yeah, he and I we butt heads all the time because look at everything that's happening. Look at Netflix. Look at Amazon. Look at all these companies.
But,
look at
but your generation also gets the rap of being too lazy. Of being,
which I agree. Yes, I
that
agree.
You guys feel like you deserve everything that's given to you.
Now, see, that's what I disagree.
I'm playing the devil's advocate.
No, of course
that's
you are.
not what I personally
That's
feel.
your job.
But I think and I've heard this from a lot of people. Oh, these kids now, the generation, everything is easy for them. This phone thing, they just they text something and they get food right away.
But why is that a bad thing?
They meet people, their significant other on here.
Again, why is that a bad thing?
How is that? Like, man,
Yeah.
before, me growing back in the old age.
Yeah. Okay.
When I wanted to meet a
Back in the
back in
day.
old days when I had teeth. I mean, I grew up in New York City,
Cool.
and in New York, you see people all the time. It's an urban, environment.
It's an urban jungle, yeah.
So if I saw a girl that I liked, I'd have to have the balls to go up to her and say hi to her if I wanted to even have a chance. There was no
Yeah.
like, oh, let me see if I can find her on.
There's no veil that
on
you hide
Tinder.
behind.
You know
There's
what I
no
mean?
like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now it's even dating, like even love, is like it's here.
It's monetarized. It's all.
And I think that's where, and it's definitely a generational thing where we say, oh well, these kids, what do they think life is about, So
The best way that I could explain that, and going back to music, because we are musicians, right? It's kind of like when your parents are like, "Oh, what are you listening to? That's shit. That's not real music," right? So everything changes. Back in the 50s, it was you met a girl, you went on a couple dates, you got married, you had kids. Then
that's the parents to take her out.
Right. Yeah, you have to ask, "Hey, sir, man, please take out your daughter." Then in the 60s, it was free love, right? Then the 70s and 80s was
sex, drugs, and rock and
yeah,
roll.
sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And now I still think it's just an evolved state of the same thing. You know what I mean? So they're still talking to each other. It's just not face to face. They'll eventually have to meet.
Right.
So there's still those nerves of like, I'm gonna meet her, I'm gonna talk to her. I gotta go up. What do I say? I just think it's the first step that changes.
But
It's the initial.
But isn't it kind of like, let's call it cheating? That you see somebody on a picture and say, okay, I like the way this girl looks. I want to, or a guy.
What's the difference of going into a bar going, hey man, that chick is hot?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
what
that's
do you
the
think?
point.
I should go talk to her.
But there's a human contact. You know what I mean? Where
there's still an eventual human contact.
This is a very superficial way of communicating. Obviously,
I agree.
It's like social media. We all think that we're connected, that we're all friends with everybody, but we're not.
We're not.
Of your friends that say on Facebook.
Yeah, of course.
How many of them would actually come to your rescue if you were stuck in the middle of 95?
I agree.
How many friends do you have on Facebook?
Listen, here's
How many friends do you have on Facebook?
Like 2,000 something.
Okay, how many of those do you think will actually
maybe like
pick up the phone if you rang
4
them?
or 5, maybe.
In the first place, nobody picks up the phone anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody is like text bound or social
because
media
it's easier. I think it's quicker. I don't know, man.
It's easier, but it's less human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It is less human. I do fall under the category of a millennial, but I like making phone calls. I love the Beatles. I love going outside. I don't like video games.
Do you think the fact that you're a musician or songwriter that makes you a little bit different being in that generation that you're in?
I think so because I'm forced to be social.
Right.
Because I'm forced. I hate social media. Because especially for what we do, it's like a second job.
So do I.
Yeah.
But we have to do it. And for me, I hate it even more because it was in my generation. You know what I mean? I've had to adapt to use it.
Right.
After years of having a career in music.
Where you did things differently, yeah.
We did, when I was on the road with my band, we didn't have cell phones. We had to stop at a payphone to call our manager or
to tell him, hey,
our booking agent, dude, where the hell is the venue? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or the car broke down. Or
I was just, text. Where am I?
Man, it's crazy because as much as I hate it, because it is superficial. But our industry is superficial. You got to look good, you got to sound good, you got to have the image, But I hate that I have to take up, for instance, before we started this, what did I do? Okay, all right, for the gram. Hey, I'm here with Elston, and why can't I just be with Elston? You know? But it's because.
But if you don't do that, then it's like okay. Then you don't exist in a way.
Exactly. You don't seem like you're doing anything. People want to know what you're doing. It's an interesting double-edged sword. And because I get a lot of work out of Instagram.
Of course you do.
A lot. Not, 80% of my jobs are people that see the videos or the hashtags and they're like, "Hey, I have an event this day. Can you come?" And,
right. Yeah. It's definitely part of our careers now. We can't. Any musician that wants to start a career now or is currently a musician of any kind and says to me, "Oh, I'm not on social media," then either you have a steady gig already that you don't need it,
of course,
or you don't want to get work,
a residency or something.
Or you don't want to get work, because it's part of our lives, man.
It's as a millennial per se, man. I wish I would have been in the 60s or 70s.
Really?
Man, look at me. I got the long hair. I got the hippie thing going. It's because I think it was an easier time to filter talent. Because I think what it is now is there's an oversaturation of information. So there's a lot of talented people. And I think now they have the balls to post. Because there's a big difference getting on stage and manipulating a crowd or controlling a crowd and just putting the phone, pressing play on a karaoke track and singing.
Do you agree that it's a catch-22 though?
Of course it is.
Because even though obviously we all have the means of putting out our work, whether you're a musician or artist or poet, whatever it is, or director of a movie, you can put it out there. But there's so many people doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
That you release the next Hey Jude.
Of course.
And by tomorrow, it's already done, in a way.
Yeah.
Unless you have a big promotional machine behind it. So in a way, you still need the big promotional machine.
Yeah.
You do have access to a lot of a bigger audience. Yet, back in the day, the pool of artists that actually broke through was a lot smaller.
Of course it was.
The only way to get out there was your Bruce Springsteen was getting signed.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen played his ass off every week, a couple times a week, until somebody discovered him.
And said, "Hey, he's great. Let's put money on him."
But now for you, I mean, you're recording your second album now.
Yes,
you
sir.
were just telling me, your goal is not to get signed.
No.
Right? At least I'm saying.
Not anymore. That was the goal when I was younger, was to get signed.
Right. That was the
Nirvana
thing.
Yeah. So my goal.
Not the band, but the actual goal. Nirvana.
I like that you have to clarify. Not the band. Not the band.
Not the band.
It's funny. It's a musician joke. Okay. So the goal was get signed and become the next Michael Jackson.
Right.
I want to be big like Michael Jackson. Dude, now that I'm a little older, I don't want to be Michael Jackson. I really look up to artists who are Grammy Award winning, successful musicians, but they can still go to the supermarket, you
Right.
know? And to name a few artists that I really admire is like Mark Broussard, Alex Cuba, who else? I mean, those are two that come to mind.
But I agree with you. There's a bunch of artists that, you know,
that
we're out there. I mean, we're out there.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it. You know, we're making a living doing it. You know, we're not superstars. We're not household names.
Yeah.
But that's not the goal, is it? You know,
Not anymore.
I don't think anymore it is. You know, I mean, I think the phenomenon of someone like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, even Madonna, that I think that's kind of
fading.
I think it's gone. I don't think an artist. I mean, there's Beyonce's of the world. There's Bruno Mars and stuff. You know,
exactly.
but to that level where they affect culture and society and music and everything else, I don't know if that can happen anymore, man. I don't know. Maybe it could. You know,
I can't.
don't know.
Listen, I can't think of anybody after maybe Bruno Mars.
I mean,
Yeah.
And I know we agree on this. As much disdain as we have for Donald Trump, he is the biggest rock star in the world because his name.
Okay. I love that you already kind of
Go with me with this.
Yeah.
And he's right.
I'll ride this way.
And I
with
was
you. Let's
having
do
this
it.
conversation with my girlfriend this morning. He's right about one thing.
Okay.
I don't agree almost in 99.9% with him.
Well, he just did the
But
Music
when he
Moderation
says,
Act.
when he
which is
says the
cool.
news media loves him because it sells,
Oh yeah.
he's 100% right.
Yeah.
You know, anything that he says is put on media and it's world news. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that the new rock star? I mean, because do you have to be that outlandish, that outrageous in order to get anything across? Because is it based on pure talent? I mean, because Bruno Mars is amazing. We love Bruno Mars,
Okay.
right?
I'm not gonna put Donald Trump. I'm gonna put what Donald Trump represents and the whole when he was running not the election. What is it during the campaign? It's like a car accident. Everyone slows down to look at a car accident.
You want to keep seeing it.
Because you want to see it. It's something different. It's
Right.
something you want to see. Maybe there's blood. You don't know. So my whole thing with Donald Trump, right, is I try really hard not to hate on human beings. Like everybody, you know, to each his own. Maybe I don't agree with you, but hey, man, as long as you're not doing any harm
Right.
to any.
And I'm the same way.
What I'm very against is what he represents. You know? And one of the things I wanted to come on to the show and talk to you about is that for me, there has been an surgence of like, how to explain it? I don't want to say racism, but there's just like this okay now to say fucked up shit.
Right.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't think Donald Trump is a rock star. I think Donald Trump just creates, you know, buzz because everything he does is grandiose.
But to have his name out there on a
Right,
consistent basis.
but here's the thing, right? So Michael Jackson, no, that's a bad example. Okay, no, that's also a bad example. Let me think. I'm trying to think of artists. I'm trying to think of artists that were in the news and did things, but they never, you know, like did anything negative. And I take it back because
Bono could be an example. I mean, Bono's
Right.
done a lot of you know, humanitarian things.
and he's constantly in the news and things like that.
Yeah,
but the reason I
yeah.
didn't say Michael Jackson is because towards the tail end,
he
he was
had-
hanging babies and
he
Yeah.
ended in a bad note. let's
yeah,
say.
he ended in a bad note. And so did Elvis. You know, Elvis
Right.
got really fat and he
Right.
went to talk to Nixon and, you know.
But is that a casualty of fame? Isn't that a casualty of fame? The fact
Yeah.
that, you know, that we
you give your sanity.
we put these people up in a pedestal.
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of weird. We put them up in a pedestal to then watch them fall.
Yeah.
And we kind of cheer on their fall, you know, to then after when they're gone,
Yeah.
and say, man, how great was Elvis? How
Yeah,
great
but
was
the
Prince?
same thing
How
with
great- you know what I mean?
yeah, same thing with with Trump. You know, everybody, no matter what he does, the most minuscule thing, half of the country's like, oh my God, why did he do that? And the other half goes, yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah, he's our guy. He's talking
Right.
for us, you know.
Right. So again, I don't think it's a rock star thing, man, because even bad publicity is good publicity. There's no such thing as bad
Right.
publicity. You know what I mean?
Having your name out, especially in today's world, you know,
Yeah.
where, you know, anything that, for example, Kanye West, anything Kanye West does, and to me, he's not as crazy as
People-
he wants to come across.
Okay.
I think he's very calculated at what he does because he keeps his name
Right.
on, you know.
In the front page
And
every time.
and
Yeah.
as you said, bad publicity or good publicity, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because Kanye West is out there and you keep seeing his name constantly. I mean,
Let me tell you, for a long time, I admired Kanye. For me, Kanye, out of everybody, is a genius. Is a musical genius. His
Right.
albums are incredible, and I really do think he's one of the few musical innovators.
All right. There's a lot of people in this room who will disagree with you.
Wait. No. It's fine. But the past 4 to 5 years, man, Kanye's dead to me, dude.
But that's what I like about this.
Kanye's dead to
You
me.
see him as, I don't see him as that because I don't, honestly,
Yeah.
I know very few of his songs.
Okay.
You know, I know, you know, Gold Digger and, you know, the bigger songs.
Right.
Gold Digger's like 10 or 12 years ago. But I don't see him the same way, and that's your generation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And maybe he is. Maybe I mean, it's also not the genre of music that I really listen to that much.
Right, of course.
You know, but I know it's something that you're, you know, because I've seen you perform.
Yeah, I always mix rap and stuff.
Great performer, super talented guy. We met at the Musicians
Yes,
on Call.
Musicians on Call. That's where we met. Yeah.
Musicians on Call is a great organization that
shout out to you guys.
That brings artists like us to the bedsides of patients in hospitals and
it's nationwide.
It's nationwide. Yeah. You know, it started I think in New York and then it spread out all over the country. That's how we met.
Yes,
you know,
that's how we met.
I don't know how long ago, but it's been a while ago.
Yeah.
So do you think this divide that we're living in now in this country, and it's really a worldwide phenomenon, you think that we ever will
unite
be able to meet in, maybe not unite because that's a little bit too you know, looking at it in a too very maybe spiritual way.
No, we will.
But do you think
I think so.
Do you think music can help us bring each other together? Do you think music still has that power?
I'm gonna be super like okay. Another tragedy has to happen. That for us.
Another tragedy like what?
Another Kennedy, another 9/11, something big has to happen. And music isn't going to fix it, but music will get us through it.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think music lost the power to like really bring people together because I haven't seen.
And why is that? What do you think? It became too corporate or what?
Yeah, I think it lost its soul, man. And that's what we try to do, but again, people don't want that. Or I don't even think people have the attention span for it anymore. One of my biggest fears with this new album that I'm doing, right, is for a long time I was like, what does it mean to be innovative? How can I be innovative? What's innovative? Innovative is a tricky thing. It's very tricky because you just have to kind of be a step ahead of what's happening or really go kind of like off
out there.
Yeah, out there, right?
But isn't sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
you,
you're good.
But isn't innovative being who you are? Yourself.
Okay,
you
but
as an artist.
okay,
because nobody else is Bryant Toro.
Right, and
nobody
I agree,
else is Elson
and I
Torres.
agree with that. But David Bowie was a little singer-songwriter, guitar guy. He had to disappear, reinvent himself, and then he became Ziggy Stardust.
Right.
You know, then he became innovative.
But but the argument is that that was also David Bowie's genetic makeup. Like he had that sensibility to keep being a chameleon and changing himself. You know what I mean?
But after the fact, that's my point. He realized I have to do something drastic.
I gotta take the step.
Right, and then he locked himself in a house, I think in France for like almost a year, and created the persona of Ziggy Stardust. And then he carried that. Look, Lady Gaga is a genius.
Yeah, she knows how to reinvent herself.
When Lady Gaga first started, I was like, "Ay, está una loca."
This Oscar buzz, man. She might get a nomination.
I haven't
for
seen
this,
the movie, but I heard the soundtrack.
I hear it's great.
Totally.
What's the name of your new album?
Oh, okay. So Higher Expectations.
Cool.
Higher Expectations.
That's very cool. And when is it coming out?
I'm aiming for January, February. I think it's probably gonna be February, March.
Are you gonna release a whole album? Or are you gonna release singles first?
It's gonna be a whole album, and I think it's gonna be the last entire album that I'm gonna do, because there's no attention span for it. There's no market for albums anymore. So after this album, I'm just gonna start focusing on singles and try to create as much content, as quickly as possible.
Right.
So like I was saying about being innovative, is this album isn't innovative.
It's you.
It isn't anything you haven't heard before. The only difference, it's my take on it.
I like
That's
that.
all it is. It's just my version. You can't reinvent the wheel, but you could put snow stuff on it so it goes through the snow. You can put rubber on it. You can make it slick so it slides, and you can do things to the wheel. You can't reinvent the wheel.
Love that.
And that's the whole thing with my album that I'm really worried about. It isn't anything innovative, but my focus was just be honest, do it from the soul, there's an audience for it
And
somewhere.
have fun.
Yeah, and I'm having a blast.
Thank you for coming on the show, bro.
No, we're done.
It's done, man.
No, there's so much I wanted to talk
You
about.
gotta come back. You gotta come back.
You gotta have me back, Elston. Thank you, man.
Extended conversation.
Thank
It's done.
you. I will be back.
All right,
Please.
brother. Thank you.
Thank
Bryant
you.
and Toro.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, that sucks. Dude, there's so much I want to. He is the tongue taker, the twister, the mister. Every time the blister, I'm just kidding, cause I'm making a joke. Here we go, shake it, and I'm taking a toke. But, cause it goes like this, and it goes like this. That was random.
This is my favorite guest, by the way. I already tell you.
Yay.
Love it.
Until next week, and she's like, this is my
Yeah, she says that about every guest that comes here.